Hello, my friend. Thanks for stopping by the channel. This is Pat Moore, and the channel is More Sporting. Now, today we're going to talk about jigs, and specifically, we're going to talk about tying your own jigs. Now, I pour my own jig heads and I tie my own jigs because obviously it's most cost effective that way. And also, when you catch something with something that you built yourself, it's way more gratifying. So I thought I'd do this video so that you guys can learn how you would tie up a jig. It give you some ideas on color palettes and so forth. And hopefully when we're all done with this, you'll feel comfortable making your own jigs too. All right, if you guys have any questions about the materials I'm using, the tools I'm using, or the equipment, or the techniques, any of that, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. All right, well, let's start out on this guy, and I simply do a couple overhand wraps that go over the top of the tag end just to hold it in place. It doesn't take a whole lot of wraps, 4 or 5, and I'll hold it in place. Let's quickly just talk about this jig head. I pour my own jig heads. This is a brush jig from Do It Molds. You'll find them under the weedless section of jig heads, and I love it. They work great in brush and in weeds. All right, the first skirt we're going to add to this jig is a black and blue. It's a silicone skirt. It's got some sparkly stuff in it as well, and I really like the silicone skirts in that they have a really good color selection. They don't have as good an action as the live rubber, but they have much better color selection. And, you know, I like this barred color and I like the glitter in it. So we're doing the classic black and blue jig. And this is just one of the skirts I'm going to tie in. Now you'll see me measuring these just to see if I got them close to center. I don't get too wrapped around the axle, so to speak, about that. Just because I typically trim the skirts down quite a bit anyway. I like them shorter. So if you're going to err on the side of the front being a little bit longer than the back, simply because it bends over. And that makes up that minor discrepancy. All right, the next color is a black with a blue foil on it. And I like that blue foil look because it's, again, got some flash to it. And I think it attracts a fish. And if you're fishing a black and blue jig, usually you're looking for a little bit more visibility. And so, yeah, that's why I use the foil covered silicone skirt here. All right, the next skirt I'm putting on here is some living rubber. And generally speaking, I try to put a little living rubber into each one of these jigs simply because it's got a better action. It's a little bit more buoyant and it twitches a lot more when you're moving the jig or in any kind of current. It just comes to life, and that's why they call it living rubber. Also would kind of point out here that generally you don't want to use a whole lot of wraps on each one of these layers because each subsequent layer is putting more wraps on top. And so everything at the bottom is being captured by a lot of wraps. But then when you get up to this last one, you're going to want to put on 8 or 10 wraps on there. And then you can see I'm doing a whip stitch on the end here. And it's difficult to see how exactly I'm doing this, but at the end of the video here, I will do I'll do a whip stitch, you know, with a close-up so you guys can see exactly how I'm doing this. And I'll do it without any skirting on there as well. It just makes it easier for you to see. So stick around till the end. You get to see how that's done. After the whip stitch, I'm going to seal this off with a little bit of head cement. And the head cement I'm using is this Loon Outdoors water-based head cement. I like it because it's not really hard when it sets. It's got a little bit of flex to it, and it doesn't seem to cause the silicone or the rubber to become brittle and stiff like a lot of the solvent-based products do. So yeah, I like the water-based system. All right, now cutting back these living rubber skirts is simple. You just pull on it, you stretch on it, and as you cut it, it will snap back and separate, and really easy to separate them out that way. Now, some of the less expensive rubber doesn't separate out as well as you'd like, and you have to do this. You have to go back through and pop it free with your fingers, but it's not that onerous a task to do. All right, after I get these guys all separated out, I am going to go ahead and trim back the silicone skirts as well. Now, the silicone comes with a connecting tab on the end, and basically just grab those and chop them off. And if you do it right, they all come off as a single piece. But if you do it wrong, then you have to cut them again. But I try to leave these as long as possible because not everybody likes their skirts the same length. And so if you like them really long, well, then that's the way I'm going to leave them. If you want them shorter, well, there's this handy tool called a pair of scissors, and you can make them as short as you'd like. But I will caution you, it doesn't matter how many times you cut it, you still can't make them any longer. So make sure you know what length you want before you start chopping away at them. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the process for making the jigs, with the exception of the weed guard. Now, you'll notice I don't have the weed guard on here, and I will put the weed guards on there, and I'll show you how I do that at the end of the video. So stick around for that if you want to see how I put those weed guards on. And also, I have found a source for some better colored weed guards, so I'll also supply that in the description as well. All right, on to the next color. We're going to do a green pumpkinish thing, and provided I can hold on to it long enough to get it into the clamp here. While we're at it, let's just talk about the fly vise here. So this is like a fly vise that I've had for 45 years. I got it as a teenager, and I think at the time it was probably $10. I've seen them now for like $15 to $20. So not exactly a sophisticated piece of equipment. And really that's all you need for tying in jigs. All right. So this is another silicone skirt that I'm using here. And it has like a blue flash sheen to it. And it kind of gives that aquatic look to everything that it's on. So I use this a lot. I bought this in bulk because I really like this color. And ironically, I buy almost all of my skirting material from Barlow's Tackle. They have great selection, but this is one of the things I couldn't find there. Maybe they've updated since then, but I just couldn't find it on their site. So I ended up buying this off of Amazon. You're going to notice that I'm doing a lot of fiddling with this skirt, and ultimately I'm just not very happy with the way it went on there. So I'm just going to unwind it. And this is one of the nice things about tying your jigs up with fly tying equipment here, is that if you don't like it, you just unwrap it and try again. Whereas if you had put these in place using stainless steel wire or one of those rubber rings, it's a lot more fiddly. You know, it's not quite so simple to undo what you've done. So yeah, I really like this method of tying them on with thread. All right, this next color is another barred silicone skirt. When I say barred, it's striped. It's got a little bit of chartreuse in it, I believe, and the chartreuse really helps them pop. So if you're looking to have a little bit more visibility on your jig, this is a nice color. And I like the fact that it's got the stripes in it, the bars in it, simply because it helps you get color match, right? There's something in one of those stripes that's going to match the other colors that you used, and it gives it a lot more visual appeal. If not for the fish, certainly to the fisherman. I also want to point out that these barred colors, there's really quite a large selection of them, and I love these colors. They're one of my favorite things to put on a jig. So Barlow's has a really good selection on them. Now I'm having a little bit of indecision as to what my next color is. Now you saw me look at that green living rubber, and I thought, that'd probably be all right. But now I'm sort of leaning towards the brown, and I may actually go with tan. I don't know. There's a bunch of different options that I can use here, and yeah, okay. I think I went with the tan. All right, well, I'm messing around with this last color, this tan living rubber. Let's talk about the thread. So the thread that I'm using is a unithread size 3/0, and it's sometimes referred to as denier, and that's just I think a trade name for polyester fibers that are bonded together. Now you're going to want to purchase the non-waxed version, particularly if you're using the Loon water-based cement, because wax is going to repel it. It's not going to soak in as well. So yeah, get the unwaxed version. And of course, the link will be in the description for the thread as well. All right, we're going to do a little time lapse here just because a lot of this stuff is repetitive, and I'm doing a bunch of jigs here, so I'll cut out a bunch of this stuff as I go through it, just so that we can expedite it a bit. Well, I wanted to make this color a fire craw, but it didn't quite turn out that way. This is kind of a reddish brown skirt. It's a silicone skirt as well. And I have red, but the red and the orange head, they just didn't seem to work out all that well. So this guy's going to turn out to be more of a brown jig than an orange jig, but oh well. And then we're going to put on another barred skirt as well. And that's the closest I'm going to be able to come to a nice orange jig. Oh well. And to finish it off, of course, I put on brown living rubber just to give it that extra wiggly flash. Okay, for the next jig here, we're going to be doing, obviously, a brown jig, or on the brown side. Obviously, with a big brown head like that, that's what we're going to be doing. And of course, we're going to start with a barred color, because I like those barred colors. In this case, it is a brown, black, and amber with multicolored glitter in it. I'm not really thrilled with the glitter, to be honest with you, but I do like the color combination, so that's what we're going with. Once we have that all tied in, we're going to layer on top of it a color called pumpkin with black flake. It's not really orange, it's more of a light brown, and it's kind of a lightish color that's in between the brown and the amber, so it makes it quite complementary. I like the look. It comes across as a light brownish colored jig, and I like that. I think that stands out a little bit better on the bottom, and you know, particularly when you've got a lot of green stuff, green muck on the bottom, it does tend to stand out a little bit more. And then we're going to also put on some brown living rubber to, of course, give it the all the twitchiness of the rubber. All right, this is going to be the 5th of the 6 jigs that I'm going to tie up today. This has got a lighter greenish brown colored head, and so I'm going to take that color and add some again that same amber brown black barred silicone in there, and then I'm also going to add in what we did on the first jig, or excuse me, the second jig, which is green pumpkin chartreuse. So it's going to start out looking like it's going to be quite brown, but it's going to have a lot of greens and chartreuses in there as well. And then, of course, the living rubber I'm going to add is going to be the light tan color. And that gives us a jig that looks similar in tone to the previous jig, but in this case, it's going to have some chartreuse and green in there as well. I imagine some of you guys are thinking, is he changing thread color for different colored jigs like this? Because that would kind of make sense. But the truth of the matter is I'm using this medium dark gray, this iron gray, and tonally it blends in pretty well with all the colors. So it doesn't contrast very highly, and it's mostly covered by that front skirt. So I don't bother changing thread color. Okay, for our sixth and final jig here, we're going to kind of go with a green theme. And I'm going to use this green with the blue shimmer on it. And it's kind of like Frank's hot sauce. I put that crap on everything. I love it. You can use it as a jig, obviously, and you can also fish it like a swim jig. If you put a minnow trailer on the back, it mimics a shiny-sided minnow quite a bit. So I really like that color. I'm thrilled with it, and I'm just going to double up on that color here. It's going to make the tying go a little faster. I'm losing my patience here on this last jig. So we're doing that, and then on top of that, we're going to put on some of the green living rubber, and that should add the wiggle we're looking for, and hopefully that'll knock them dead out there. Another question you guys might have is, do I have a name for each one of these color patterns? And the answer is no. I pretty much put these things together by feel. I just pull stuff out of my box that I think would look good together, and I put them together, and I don't bother naming any of them. All right, the last task we have to do to each one of these jigs is put in the weed guard. And you want to use a gel-based super glue, because if you use the thinner-based super glue, it'll actually wick up into those fibers, and it'll actually turn it into this solid piece. It won't be separate fibers anymore. It glues all the fibers together. Ask me how I know. So yeah, you don't want to do that. And you also don't want the rubber anywhere near that hole. So you don't want to get the glue on the silicone or the rubber, because it will make them brittle and they'll break. And this one felt kind of loose, so I'm just going to add a little extra dollop of super glue on there, and I will spritz this with some activator as well. Do that off camera. And that's how I put the weed guards on. Now, as promised, this is how you do a whip stitch by hand. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to use two fingers. I use my thumb and my pointer finger, and I separate them out, and I create a loop. Now, I'm setting up that loop so that the portion that's on my thumb will wrap over the tag, and you can see that puts a single wrap on. Then you can see I put another one on, and each time I do that, I rotate my fingers. And if you tighten the back string up there, that tightens the whole thing up. It cinches it down, and you can just roll through it and put as many wraps over the tag as you'd like. I usually do 6 to 8, and then pull it tight, and then you can trim it off, and you're good to go. Put a little head cement on it, and go fishing. All right, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you very much. That's pretty much all I got for you. I would be interested in your opinion. Do you think I put too much skirting material on my jigs, or do you think it's not enough? Tell me, what do you think of the way that they look? And as always, please like and subscribe, and for the love of goodness, leave me a comment. Appreciate you. Thank you.